So unfortunately I wasn't like filming this part, but I started removing the power steering pump. Usually the easier thing would be to just unbolt these let me see if you can guys see this. Unbolt the banjo bolts on the power steering lines and just drain the fluid. I really didn't want to do it, so what I did was pretty much went around, first loosened the belt, took the tensioner bolt out, and then took let's see how many, one, two, three, four, five bolts out, and then the nut for the tensioner, and the power steering pump came loose. Mine wasn't like budging, so that was kind of like annoying, and I just whacked it with a mallet and it came free. So sorry about not filming it, but it's pretty simple how it goes in. So now that the power steering is out of the way, I'm just gonna remove the AC compressor. In order to do that, what you have to do is there are 4 bolts that you have to remove, and luckily my car was someone the previous owner removed the engine once, or at least the shop did it. I don't think I can show you on the camera right now. Maybe I can. Let me see. Yeah, I can't. Sorry. So there are 4 bolts. I'll just hold the bolts and show you guys where they are. So there's like 1 bolt right here that, like, this is the end of the bolt, so it goes from the back. And usually when the dealer puts the AC compressor back on, they don't put that bolt in because it's a nightmare to get to. And if you have that, what you need is a 14 millimeter, I believe, 14 millimeter crowfoot on a really long extension. So what you do is take the crowfoot, put it here, put the extension here, and put your ratchet right here, and just yank it clockwise, and it should undo the bolt, hopefully. And then the rest 3 are I'll just show you guys right now. So currently we're at the bottom of the car, and so one of the AC compressor bolt is here, the other one is right here, and the third one is right here. So after you undo that main bolt, so after you undo that main bolt, all you have to do is just take those 3 out, and the compressor should just come off. So yeah, and they're all 14 millimeter. After fighting with the exhaust for a couple of hours, actually not even an hour, like 30 minutes, I got 2 bolts out, but the last one I couldn't do it, so I just cut it off. I cut it basically right after the header. It's gonna be a little hard to see, but if you want to take the exhaust bolt out, mine is like super rusty, and most of them are like stripped. They're like somewhere between 14 and 15 millimeters. Like, I have no idea what those are. They're not even SAE, so they're like rusted and weird. But I finally got the exhaust off, like from the car itself. So now all I have to do is just undo the hangers in the back, and hopefully it should just drop out. So now what I'm gonna do is take off the heater core hoses. There are 2 hoses, one here and one right over here. Or one here, and I already took this one off. I had to cut it because, as you can see, it's like all rotted. So just 2 of the heater core.
You just cut it now, or?
Yeah, I just cut it right now, and then I'm gonna cut the other one. I'm not gonna reuse them, but I just cut them now because I'm not gonna reuse them. So if you're reusing them, just try to pull them off, and they should come off.
We didn't replace it with silicone hoses before?
Yeah, you can replace them with silicone ones. So
they're much easier to come on and off.
Yeah.
And so what are you gonna do next?
Next, I'm gonna take off the wires from the starter, and then I'm gonna disconnect all the harnesses from the transmission, unbolt the cross member, and then I'm gonna show all that in the video. So now I'm underneath the car, and there are like 6 10mm nuts holding the heat shield on, and then you have access to the center bearing or the guide belt. So now that the heat shield is off, all you have to do is take off these 2 bolts, and the drive shaft should come out like this, and it should have enough slack for you to pull this out. So now what we're gonna do is take the shifter off. You have to take these 2 bolts off. I think these are 12mm, and then I believe you have to take 2 of these out, and 2 on the other sides of these, and hopefully the transmission should be separate from the shifter assembly. At least that's what I think. And then we'll just disconnect the whole transmission harness. I took this bolt off and I just put it back on, and then I took all these off. Well, it kind of broke all these. They all snapped off, and the shifter bracket is now separate from the transmission. And then, alright, at least now I'm gonna just start by taking the transmission harness off. I've never taken the transmission harness off, so I'm just gonna see how many connectors there are. And then I'm just gonna hold the transmission with the floor jack and take the bracket off, or the cross member off.
Alright, so the bolts are 14mm, but I could check, and I'm probably going to use air for these, but I don't know. So there's another bolt, there's 2 more bolts that the transmission mount attaches to. They're 12mm, and this one's pretty rusted out, so I don't know. I think it came out. Yep, it did. There's another one here. Right, so this bolt is completely stripped out, so I don't think we can take it out. It's completely stripped out. I think we can take it off.
So I just took the starter heat shield off. It's just 2 bolts here, and then 1 bolt on the top, and then I'm just off. And now what I'm gonna do is take the terminals off. Both the terminals are off right now, and now what I'm going to do is start disconnecting all the wires. I'm not sure how many connectors there are, but I'm just going to try and disconnect them all. So right now I forgot to unplug the oil pressure sender unit, so it's right underneath, right over the oil filter, and it just comes off. And then it goes to the engine, I believe, and then it comes out here. So and then there's like a few connectors here and there. So this side motor mount, the what is it, the drive, this is the passenger side. This one came out super easy. The other one was not coming out. And so I'm just going to take the motor mounts off, and then my brother helped me and take out the other bolts, but I just removed it. So I thought I'd remove the harness, but I'm not going to remove the harness right now, transmission harness, since it's connected to the alternator. All I did was just remove this so that it doesn't hit anything, and hopefully when I pull the engine, the transmission harness doesn't really cause any problems with the vehicle, since I think it's only attached to the alternator, and that's it. So then I'm gonna just jack it up from here, and hopefully hopefully start pulling. So one of the bolts on the transmission, like this one came out, but this one, I don't know if you can see that, but that's stripped. So this cross member is causing the transmission knob to like fall down, and so I'm taking it off from the actual transmission with the 14mm bolt. So there's one on this side and one here that I already took off. As you can see, the 14mm socket is still here. So what you can do is insert a socket, just a socket in here, and then put an extension through this hole, and then use a breaker bar or something to get it off. Hello. So I tried to getting the engine mount out from the bottom, but I couldn't do it. One of the bolt is very rusty, so what I'm doing is, since I have the AC compressor removed, I can access it with a 14mm from the top, and I'm gonna try that one from either the top or the bottom. I'm not sure yet. So that one isn't as rusty, but this one was pretty much like all rusty. And so I've set up the engine hoist and set up the load leveler. Usually people use towing straps and a lot of other things wrapped around the pedal. What I did was the Ramsey the engine hoist kit. So what that uses is this bolt and this bolt, and just threads in. So instead I used 4 bolts instead of just 2 on the load lever, and hopefully it should work, and then I can manage the angle so that I can get the transmission out and angle the engine out like this. So right now what I'm going to do is just unbolt the transmission. I just threaded 2 bolts, and I'm just going to put the floor jack on the transmission and unbolt the cross member. So when you're pulling the engine out, you'll notice that I took the battery terminals off previously from the starter, and they'll be attached here like this, and I disconnected all these so that I can actually move the engine out of the way. And so it is connected to the, like, just above the transmission, and all you have to do is use a 10mm, I think, and then it should come off, because it is connected to like the whole chassis or fuse box to the car. So like the ground is connected to the fuse box or the power, or you can just take this off and take the terminals with it too. So with either one, I prefer to take this off actually.
So we're having to take the alternator out for this harness because we cannot stuck to the motor mount.
So as you just saw, I took the alternator off. I should have done it before, and there is no ground on the motor mount, like connected to the motor mount, so there was just a zip tie holding it together. So I should have taken out the alternator before, and it would have been a lot easier. And the crank pulley as well, like if you can, just take the crank pulley off, but if you have a bigger hoist, you don't really need to take off the crank pulley.
We bought the 1 ton.
Like, I wouldn't recommend the 1 ton for the 300ZX. You get the 2 ton. So in order to take the alternator completely off, you have to take the transmission harness off, and as you can see, then all you have to do is take this connector out, this, and then the wire should be free from the alternator. Like, it should be a part of the alternator. We just pulled the engine is right there. we have to get a tire to put the engine on. It's just resting on a piece of cardboard. Things I would recommend you do is take out the alternator beforehand with the AC compressor and the power steering pump. And if you can't, take the crank pulley off. If you have a smaller, like, because the engine doesn't like to tip over. Other than that, it wasn't honestly that hard. I've worked on it pretty much alone until my brother came here to help me pull it out, and I spent like
6 hours.
Yeah, maybe 6 hours. Like I've been listening to music and slowly doing everything, and it took me like 6 hours to do.
So hopefully their parts are not as rusted as ours.
Yeah, my car, like, just show them the there's just a cross member. It's gross. The engine mounts are seized, like the engine mounts are all like broken.
See, so this car has been abused a lot.
Yeah, and I don't know how I'm gonna take any of these bolts out. So I'm just gonna soak them in WD-40.
Or you just take the whole subframe out and throw it away. So basically, this is the first step of restoring this vehicle.
Yeah. One more thing I would recommend is taking out the AC condenser, if you can. I didn't want it to take it out because there are a lot of.
But then again, you save a lot of that hassle if you get a bigger crane.
Yeah, like it would have came out in like 30 minutes if we had a bigger.
But then again, the issues are the same.
Yeah, we don't have enough headroom.
Like most people don't.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the problem.
So yeah, that's all for this video. We're glad that we started working on this car, and hopefully this will be back on the road this year. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.